Hi dear friends, welcome once again to Late Night Show. We are happy to have with us this time a dignitary visitor of this area in Western Mindanao. One of the giants of De La Salle University, especially in the field of constitutional laws and of course human rights. We are happy and to say that it's a rare privilege to have with us our very own, the speaker, the resource speaker of one of the small gathering here in Zamboanga City. So we would like to welcome, as I described this guy, a freedom fighter, human rights advocate, and an expert in the laws, and of course tracing back to the family he has inherited from the famous and well-known legislator, the late Senator Jose Pepe Wright Diokno. And ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Illinois graduate of Doctor of Laws. Yes. No less than our very own, I call him friend, and we are comfortable to call him Chel. Jose Manuel Diokno.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
I'm very happy to be here.
Okay, we are also more than happy. Well, it took you so long to visit Zamboanga. I mean,
no, I have been here several times.
Recently?
Hindi lang nagkataon na nagkasama tayo.
Tama, kaya panayin na natin sa show natin si Sir. Sir, first, your presence here in this part of the country signals a event that says greater things can happen here in Zamboanga. And you are the resource person of the Medical Action Group, which focuses on the advocacy, human rights, especially the full implementation of the anti-torture law. Sir, tell me what particular field of expertise ginamit mo para may pakabot ito sa ating mamamayan.
Ang layunin namin kaya naririto po kami is to give training. Kasi lalong-lalo na ang mga municipal health officers natin. They are the ones who conduct the examination of victims of crimes, pati yung mga victims ng human rights violations. Ang problema, talagang wala silang nakukuhang training. And because of that, nahihirapan sila pag humaharap sila sa husgado. Siyempre, nakakaroon sila ng mga nervousness, anxiety, dahil hindi naman sila marunong sa mga legal matters. Kaya yung layunin sana namin is to expose them. Ano ba yung mga court procedure? Ano ba yung mga rules of court? Paano ba dapat sila mag-testify pag nakita sila sa mga judge?
So itong mga medical practitioners, mga doktor natin, usually nagiging balakid sila dahil sa kulang na itong katulang na sinasabi.
And it's not at all their fault. Kasi yung kanilang tungkulin na mag-examine halimbawa ng mga victims o yung mga dead bodies, ang dapat talaga gumagawa niyan, mga forensic pathologists. Unfortunately, sa Pilipinas, kukunti talaga ang forensic pathologists. Kaya napilitan ng gobyerno na gawin na yung mga municipal health officers, sila ang gagawa ng examination. Which would be all right if they had the expertise. And that is our purpose here. We would like to share that expertise.
So, ibig sabihin, doing the documentary and documentation of this.
Yes, yung tamang pag-gather ng evidence, ng forensic evidence, yung tamang pag-evaluate ng injuries. Halimbawa, meron allegedly na nabaril. Yung ba talaga gunshot wound? O meron na may accusation of sexual abuse. Kailangan mapatunayan yun sa harapan ng judge.
Okay, so sa ngayon, how do you find itong But are we getting headway? I mean,
Oh yes,
somehow.
I am very happy. This is already the 6th or the 7th training that we have conducted. By now, siguro mga 150 or more doktor na ipag-training namin. And maganda ang feedback. All the time ang sinasabi sa amin, mabuti nagkaroon kami ng training dahil hindi namin alam na ganito pala ang proseso sa court. Maski naman yung average na Pinoy, hindi natin alam yung court processes dahil sa education natin, we are not taught what a court is all about.
So anong in-emphasize ninyo dito sa page po, your lecture?
In-emphasize namin yung kung paano mag-testify. So how to be effective as a witness. Dahil kung hindi na makapag-testify ng tama ang municipal health officer, magkakaroon ng mga acquittal yan, hindi makukonvict ang accused. And sayang naman kasi kung nandun naman yung evidence and physical evidence, hindi naman testigo yan, yung evidence na ganyan. Talagang pag nandyan yan, hindi na pwedeng galawin yan, hindi pwedeng questionin. Sayang if it's there, dapat gamitin natin. Unfortunately, sa mga law enforcers natin, ang usual na nagiging practice is to rely on witnesses. But the problem is, ang witness, madaling bumaliktad yan, kaya matakot, kaya ayaw ng tumestigo, biglang nawawala. But ang physical evidence, that is there all the time. And any expert na tumingin dyan, pareho din ang sasabihin niya about it.
So, bakit hindi lahat ng lawyers? I mean, sabi nga na ang isang kaso ay na-resolve ito o nanalo ito, depende sa diskarte ng abogado. Is it really that ganun talaga yun?
Yes, kasama sa sistema natin yan dahil ang sistema natin yung tinatawag nilang adversarial. Ibig sabihin, nasa abogado yan kung anong ihaharap niya ebidensya, kung paano siya maghaharap ng mga arguments. So malaking bagay din yung skill level ng lawyer. Kung ang abogado ay hindi naman sanay na humarap sa judge, malamang yan, hindi siya magiging effective pag-argue na sa judge at pag-present niya na witness. Kaya ang mga trial lawyers sa amin, these are lawyers who really go to court all the time. Yan bang araw-araw talaga naglalagari yan pupunta sa judge.
So, talagang older life na tulad nyo, 20 years more than. So talagang makikita natin, hindi lang makukuha ito sinabi nyo na overnight lang.
At unfortunately, marami sa mga lawyers natin, ayaw nilang maglitis ng kaso dahil totoo naman, napakabagal na sistema natin. Tapos marami mga reports ng corruption, ganyan. Kaya marami rin na lawyers, nadi-discourage sila na matuto ng skills. Pero sa akin, it must be mandatory na kahit sino ka basta tinawag kang abogado, dapat marunong ka magtanong ng testigo, marunong ka mag-object, marunong ka mag-argue. Dahil you cannot call yourself a lawyer kung hindi ka naman may skills na ganyan.
How do you find how we produce lawyers each year?
There's a lot of improvement. There's a lot of room for improvement. Unang-una, parang malaki ang pagkukulang natin sa oral advocacy, yung pagsasalita ng abogado. Ang nakikita ko, ako personal lang na opinion, sa nakikita ko sa mga nasa Kongreso, nasa Senado, kahit sabihin natin abogado sila, marami sa kanila, hindi marunong mag-argue, hindi effective yung kanilang pagsasalita. Kaya kami sa De La Salle, sa College of Law, yung isa namin na-emphasize doon is the ability to communicate. Yan ang crucial sa lawyer yun, to communicate in writing at saka by words.
So, we have a lot more to learn. As the professor of De La Salle, representing isa sa mga nagpo-produce, mataas na porsyento ng nakakakuha ng top. No?
Kami wala pa naman dahil ang una namin bar examinees sa 2014 pa. So I'm hoping that we will have a good performance there. Ang nakikita rin namin sa existing legal education, parang walang emphasis sa skills. Yung bang skill in asking questions, skill in gathering evidence. Ang nagiging emphasis ng mga legal education natin is more of, alam mo ba yung batas? Anong nilalaman ng RA ganito? which is needed. Kailangan talaga may basic knowledge. Pero in addition, dapat meron din skills that you need for going to court.
I'm going to very personal question. How do you do it? I mean, how did you do it? During your time, siguro subsubing kayo sa kanya.
Oo, pero
Ginawa na talaga yun.
ano po yan ang aming education sa paglilitis ng kaso. On the job yan. Pag first day ka naging lawyer, bahala ka, basta pumunta ka na sa court at matuto ka. But I was very lucky dahil ang father ko abogado, ang lolo ko abogado. Then, when I was very young, mga 12 or 13 years old, sumasama na ako sa tatay ko. Basta meron siyang vista sa court, nandun ako, nakabarong din ako, talaga ko yung bag niya. Kaya, even as a young boy, nasanay na akong humarap yun.
Exposed ka na sa
court, alam ko na yung mga objection. At saka yung nakita kong mga abogado, yan yung talagang magagaling. Sila Atty. Jimenez, sila Dean Coronel, yung mga ganun na talagang respetado ng bayan.
Okay. So, let's go to itong gusto natin. Anong nangyayari nga sa bansa natin? Alam po natin na
Malaking
yung mga abogado talagang malaki ang role nila sa pag-usad ng ating bayan. Ano? So, sir, yung contribution ng lawyers, especially sa nation building, paano i-describe?
Kami sa FLAG, sa Free Legal Assistance Group, meron kaming philosophy. Ang tawag namin doon ay developmental legal. Ang purpose namin ay gamitin yung batas not to oppress or to abuse the people, but the opposite. Para talagang maramdaman nila yung ibig sabihin na kalayaan. So what we are trying to do is tinitingnan namin ano ba yung mga polisiya at mga practice na nakakasama sa masa, sa mga taong bayan. And we want to change those kinds of practices. Halimbawa, ang isa namin bagong issue ngayon, yung transparency in government. Yung paglabas ng mga statement of assets and liabilities ng members of government. Lalo-lalo na yung members of the judiciary. Dahil ang members of the judiciary, hindi naman elected yan. Kaya sa akin, mas mahalaga pa na maging transparent sila. Dahil yung mga politiko na binoboto natin, kung hindi sila transparent, hindi huwag natin iboto ulit. Next time, hindi magiging senador yan, congressman. Pero ang judge o justice, pag na-appoint yan, hanggang 70 years old, judge yan. Kaya dapat accountable sila sa tao. Para malaman natin kung talagang diretso sila, we must see their assets and liabilities.
So what is your reading about the ongoing impeachment? Bakit hindi?
I am happy and sad. Masaya ako dahil lumitaw ngayon itong issue ng SAGN. At alam na ngayon ng masa na bakit yung mga opisyal natin wala silang ganyan, wala silang declaration. That law has been around for 20 years. Pero ngayon lang talaga nagkaroon ng public discussion about it. So doon masaya ako dahil kailangan nyo ng transparency. Pero medyo malungkot ako doon sa performance ng lawyers.
Okay.
At yun ang sinasabi ko pati sa mga estudyante namin sa Dalasal. Sabi ko, kailangan pag kayo maging mga senador na at congressman, papakita nyo, magaling kayo sa court na alam nyo yung mga objection at yung mga argument. Dahil yung mga lumalabas sa impeachment natin, hindi naman sa sinasabi kung they're not good lawyers. But totoo naman, wala sila masyadong experience sa trial court. Lalo na yung prosecutors. Malaki ang lamang ni Justice Cuevas dahil si Justice Cuevas, veterano yan, marami na nadaan ng kaso yan. And that is one of the challenges ng prosecutor. Kailangan ma-overcome nila.
So, anong nakikita niyo? Will this not affect maging karoon ng mga constitutional crisis or magkaroon ng ulapan in the country?
I hope na hindi mangyari. Pero pwedeng mangyari yan. May mga several scenarios yan. Halimbawa, during the impeachment trial, magkaroon ng ruling ang Senate. Tapos iakyat nila Atty. Cuevas ang ruling na yan sa Supreme Court.
Okay.
At ang sabihin ng Supreme Court, mali kayo, hindi niyo pwedeng gawin yan. Ang tanong dyan, susundan ba ng Senate Impeachment Court ang Supreme Court? Kasi ang sinasabi ni Senator Enrile, sabi ng Constitution, pagdating ng impeachment, exclusive sa
Final
amin yan. Final yan, sa amin yan. So not even the Supreme Court can interfere. Pagka pinilit na Supreme Court yan, na dapat susundan niyo kami, magkakaroon ng constitutional crisis yan. But I think the Supreme Court is very much aware of that. Kaya they are treading very carefully on that issue. Kita nyo nga, wala silang initial na tiyawan sa mga pending issues.
So we have this, itong, ang tawag ito, yung personality ng impeachment court.
Yes.
I mean, dito siya, ano ito sir, administrative, criminal, or, paano ito sir?
May halo siya.
Uh-huh.
Ang basic na process niya, parang criminal case. Pero malaki ang pagkakaiba ng criminal case sa impeachment. Ang criminal case, pag ma-convict yung akusado, sa kulungan siya pupunta. Pero ang impeachment, pag ma-convict halimbawa si Chief Justice, hindi naman siya makukulong. Ang magiging result dyan, mawawalan siya ng pwesto. He will be removed as the Chief Justice. So, I think that although the process is similar, it's really more of an administrative case. Ang impeachment, yan ang only way to hold a high official accountable. Pag yung mga mabababang government employee, papailan mo lang yan ng complaint, administrative complaint. Mapatunayan mo yung allegation, tatanggal siya sa permission. Pero pag mga matataas na opisyal, siyempre kailangan mas maayos at mas masuri ang proseso. And that is why ni-require nila yung impeachment. Ang tanong dyan, ano ang standard of proof? Para bang criminal case yan, na proof beyond reasonable doubt o mas mababa na standard? Ako ang aking pananaw dyan, it should be substantial evidence yung mas mababang standard. Dahil hindi naman natin pinag-uusapan yung buhay o yung kalayaan ng Chief Justice. Ang pinag-uusapan natin kung siya'y bagay pa o fit pa dun sa kanyang case.
So, vis-a-vis ethical standard, tulad yung mga delikatesa, kasi public opinion dictates na talagang saan mo masusunod dito?
But, you know, to be candid, I think that whatever happens sa impeachment trial, magkaroon man ng conviction, acquittal, there will always be questions raised about the Chief Justice. Kasi marami nang lumitaw ng mga bagay na really causes concern kung ganun ba talaga na. If I cannot speak for him, of course, pero kung ako siguro ang nasa kanyang pwesto, I would have resigned already. Not really for myself, but to save the integrity of the judiciary.
Okay. So, itong ano natin sir, because one of the reasons bakit nagkaroon itong impeachment trial, because lahat po ng aksyon ng executive, medyo hinahalang ng judiciary. How do you see that kind of kapangkaan?
Sabi na, sinasagasa naman. But again,
based on the decision, merit ng mga action naman ng judiciary, is it really that?
Ang masasabi ko dyan, there are really some justices who tend to or are inclined to rule in favor of certain parties. Ngayon, gusto ko rin makita kung anong magiging ebidensya ng prosecution sa impeachment para mapatunayan nila yan. Because ang kailangan dyan, i-analyze natin yung makaraming mga desisyon tapos kung gagawa sila ng chart niyan, paano ang boto ni Chief Justice dito? If they can establish a pattern, malaking bagay yun. But it is a challenge on their part. Kailangan talagang mag-aaral sila at mag-analyze sila ng kaso. I haven't seen the evidence kaya hindi ko alam kung malakas yun.
But siguro, we could improve. Kasi minsan, how we could arrive to that point kung hindi maganda rin yung proseso. Once we start for right, then we surely will end up right. Pero kung wrong ang start, di ba parang gano'n, di ba? Wrong solution, wrong answer.
Tama.
Yung observation lang ito. So, you're optimistic na our country will move forward despite all of this.
In spite of everything, I'm still optimistic. Because the people are realizing that they must act on their own. They cannot rely on anyone else. Hindi naman tayo pwede umasa lang sa gobyerno. Kailangan sa sarili tayo aasa. And the more people realize na meron na akong karapatan at dapat yung ating lipunan ay ganito, naman tama yung nangyayari ngayon. The more people act, the better we can change.
Well, a few more questions with Dr. Jokno here. We'll be right back. Maybe you could ask some more questions. Babalik po tayo. We'll be back after this.